Today I'm going to talk a little bit about normal resting heart rate. I've been measuring my normal resting heart rate with a fitness tracker, and so I know what mine is, but I'm going to talk a bit about how you know what yours should be and what might influence that so that you can interpret your own data. So I've got a little chart here, but what I will do is turn this around so that you can see it, and then we can go through the information about heart rate. When your heart beats, a little area of electrical activity starts off in the sinus node. This stimulates an electrical signal that passes down through the atrial chamber to the atrioventricular node, which is another specialized electrical area of cells, and then the cellular electrical activity passes down through to these chambers. And the reason it does this is so that you get contraction with electrical activity up here first, so that these filling chambers empty the blood down into the ventricles, and subsequently you get electrical activity into the pumping chambers, the ventricles, which then expels the blood out into the body, and that is your stroke volume that helps to create your cardiac output. So you get nice coordinated contraction of blood coming in, going down and squeezed out, in, down and out. And so you want the electrical activity to be contraction at the top, contraction at the bottom, so that this continues and pumps in the right direction. In terms of what affects this, then there are little nerve fibers coming into here, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, and actually what they do is speed up or slow down the heart rate. So you actually have little inputs coming into here. If you exercise, it stimulates this to go faster and to this to become more excitable so that you can raise your heart rate and everything happens a lot more quickly. Exercise does it, caffeine does it, stress and anxiety cause it in activity as well, because they release lots of catecholamines or stress hormones or adrenaline, and so you can often feel the effects of that. If you go into an exam, you'll feel your heart rate racing, and it's because of this. It's getting lots more stimulation, and so this speeds up. You can have rhythm disorders, but this is quite rare, and that's where the heart rate is going too fast inappropriately. That's something separate, which we won't talk about here. Some hormonal changes can affect things, and those can have hormonal influences also on these areas, which can affect how fast or slow your heart beats. Your heart rate can also vary. As you breathe and change the pressures in different chambers, you tend to get a lengthening or a shortening of your heartbeats. And in young people or small animals, this can be quite pronounced, and it can seem like there's quite a lot of variation or irregularity. As you get older, your heart rate tends to reduce. So you may see those old fitness charts that say that your maximum heart rate should be 220 minus your age, and that is true. Probably for every 1 to 5 years your heart rate is going to drop by 1 to 5 beats or something like that at peak exercise. If you're very fit, because this part of your muscle becomes more efficient and it pumps so much harder, it actually doesn't have to go as fast to generate as much blood flow because the pump has got so much stronger. So as you get fitter, your heart rate can go down, and so your resting heart rate can go below this. And some athletes can go as low as the 30s, which is quite surprising. Things that slow the heart rate down, rest and relaxation, they put in something called relaxation kind of parasympathetic fibers here, and that also slows the heart rate down. Sometimes it can slow it down too much and you can actually feel a bit nauseated or sick or have very slow heart rates that can cause you to feel clammy. That's called a vagal episode, and we can talk about that separately. We sometimes use medication to slow the heart rate down, and if we were to put you on beta blockers, you might drop your heart rate by as much as 10 beats from your resting rate. So you might start off at something like 80, and we might be able to get you down to something like 60 if we put you on maximal dose beta blockers. Sometimes the effect is even more than that. We could take people from 100 right down to 60 with just medication alone. When you sleep, because you're less active, you have more of this relaxation hormones and more of the relaxation parasympathetic nervous system acting, and again that slows down your heart rate. And again, hormonal influences, so if you have low thyroid, other hormonal changes can affect your heartbeat too. So you can see there's lots of things that affect your normal resting heart rate, and so what's normal for you may be different to what's normal for someone else. Moreover, it can be changed over time, so if you get fitter, you might find your heart rate can go down, usually only by maximum of about 5 to 10. Similarly, if you have things like a lot of caffeine or stress, your resting heart rate can go up. And I've got a really nice chart of my resting heart rate through the pandemic, when as I worked as a doctor, I could see that my resting heart rate was up every time we had a lockdown, because I was obviously more stressed about going into work at those times. Provided you feel all right, your resting heart rate is probably fine as it is, provided it's round about these indices. If it's 50 and you feel completely fine, then you don't need to worry. And we always go much more by symptoms rather than the actual number itself. So this is your normal heart rate and what it might be for you. And as I said, mine is 49 to 50, and that's been that way for a long time, and I feel fine and operate at that level. And so that's fine for me. I hope that's been helpful.